They said to me that your demands are good. We understand it's a must. Okay, so where's the money?
Tonight, Nunavik is in danger of losing its Indigenous police force. The Blood Tribe Health Department struggles with what to do after multiple overdoses.
We have one adult koi fish who is over 50 years old. Her name is Madonna, and we're hoping that she's doing okay.
And setting the traps after some expensive goldfish are being feasted on by an otter visiting a Vancouver park. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. It's been a difficult month for the Blood Tribe in southern Alberta as the community has been hit with an alarming number of overdoses. The Reserve has seen 39 overdoses and 3 deaths this month. According to Kevin Cowan of the Blood Tribe Department of Health, 2018 has seen an average of 25 overdoses per month, and carfentanil may be the main cause. Cowan says the community is trying to respond quickly to the crisis and hopes to have a safe withdrawal management site by early January.
This has been a particularly difficult month for us with those 3 or 4 deaths as well as the 39 overdoses overall. We believe we're ahead of the situation right now. We know that the emergency services are doing a very, very good job.
On what would have been his 23rd birthday, the family of Colton Crowshoe gathered outside the Calgary courthouse to bring awareness to the teen's injustices. In 2014, the 18-year-old's body was found in a retention pond in Calgary. His death was deemed a homicide, but no charges were ever laid. According to the family, the Crown prosecutor says there is new evidence regarding Crowshoe's death, but the investigation has stalled.
We stand here in front of the courthouse to send a message that we're not going anywhere, and we're not going to continue. We're not going to stop pushing for them to do the right thing.
This week in Saskatchewan, a judge found Gabriel Joseph Fauché not guilty of manslaughter in the death of his girlfriend, Beverly Little Crow. Little Crow's family sat down with APTN to discuss what they say is an injustice for another Indigenous woman. APTN's Amber Bernard has more.
She was amazing. She had amazing light. She had amazing energy and vibrant, and she was generous, and she was. It's not fair that she was taken from us like that.
Beverly Little Crow was 36 years old when she was pronounced dead after suffering from a fatal head injury in 2016. Her boyfriend at the time, Fauché, was charged with manslaughter. He was found not guilty on November 19th. The judge said there was not enough proof that Fauché had attacked Little Crow, and it was possible that because she had a previous head injury that affected her balance, she could have fallen.
It's like living her death all over again after hearing the verdict.
Little Crow's family says justice was not served.
No one really cares if an Indigenous woman goes missing or murdered or gets murdered. So it's upsetting, to say the least, but it's also really sad.
The family is now looking for help.
The family is requesting an appeal of the acquittal verdict, and today the family is also requesting assistance. They can't do this alone and need help in continuing this fight for justice.
We want justice. We want justice for Bev.
Amber Bernard, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
To the 4th day of Quebec inquiry hearings in Kuujjuaq, where testimony from the much maligned Kativik police force. They say they have a plan to improve services in Nunavik, but they need the feds and province on board. Tom Fenario has that story.
Monsieur le commissaire, je dois vous dire qu'on est non pas à minuit moins 5, mais on est à minuit moins 1.
This was the main message Kativik Regional Police Chief Jean-Pierre Larose delivered during his testimony. Without an increase in funding, the Indigenous police force he oversees will no longer be able to continue.
Malheureusement, si on n'a pas d'entente d'ici Noël, je vais être dans l'obligation de demander à la Sûreté du Québec de prendre la relève en termes de sécurité publique au Nunavik.
The Cannabis police have been working without a funding agreement since April. Negotiations with Quebec and Canada appear to be going nowhere.
They said to me that your demands are good. We understand it's a must. Okay, so where's the money?
During almost 3 hours of testimony, Cannabis police outlined poor working conditions for many of their officers. The vast region of Nunavik has astronomical crime rates for a small population of 13,000 spread out over 14 communities. LaRose says they need 30 more officers to properly police the region. Last year they paid out 33,000 hours of overtime, the equivalent of 16 full-time officers.
Des périodes inhumaines de garder un périmètre de sécurité dans le froid, dans des conditions difficiles, 12, 13, 15 heures, parfois plus longtemps.
Over the last 2 weeks, the Quebec inquiry has heard many negative testimonies regarding Cannabis police. Accusations of police brutality, over-policing of probation conditions, neglection of duties, and in the case of one former officer, a 2002 incident where he had to arrest a coworker for domestic violence.
De produire le rapport et de le soumettre au DPCP dès que possible, le plus tôt possible. Et l'autre me demande de plus étouffer la chose, plus étouffer l'affaire pour éviter que ça fasse des répercussions sur le service de police. Et je me trouve à être pris là, entre ces deux superviseurs-là.
Cannabis police also have an extremely high rate of violence. Since July 2016, they have killed or seriously injured people at over 50 times the rate of the Montreal police. LaRose doesn't dispute these issues. Rather, he blames the lack of funding for staffing, equipment, and infrastructure that contributes to high turnover rate of officers, which in turn leads to about half of their patrolling officers being hired straight out of school.
Est-ce qu'ils sont prêts à vivre tout ce qu'ils vivent ici dans leur première année d'expérience?
Ils sont pas prêts. Malheureusement, ils sont pas prêts.
With regards to discipline issues on the force, LaRose says he's fired 3 officers since he was hired in February. He's also open to calls for Inuktitut translators or representatives to help de-escalate all too frequent armed standoffs.
The Inuit, they want to be part of the solution, and I believe in that, and I want them to participate with us in all the issues.
LaRose plans on meeting with the community of Inukjuak the week of December 3rd to discuss policing in the community. Whether the Cannabis police force will be in charge of policing Nunavik come the new year remains to be seen. Tom Fenario, APTN National News, Kuujjuaq, Quebec.
The community of Yellowknife came together to help raise funds for those in need after a major fire, but families affected say they've not received any of the money raised. That story's coming up after the break. Here's a look at Saturday's weather forecast starting on the East Coast. +4 and sunny skies for Halifax, 1 above in Fredericton. -7 with snow for Happy Valley Goose Bay, 0 and snow for Cartwright. Rain and +1 in Montreal, a rain-snow mix and 4 above for Val d'Or. +8 in Sarnia and London with rain, 10 above and rain for Windsor. Rain and +4 in Wawa, Elliott Lake, Timmins, Kapuskasing, and Thunder Bay. -19 under the sun for Puckatawagan. -17 in Thompson, 16 below in Churchill. 5 below with snow in Winnipeg. -6 in Gimli with snow. -8 in Dauphin. In Saskatchewan, -9 in... Welcome back. It's been weeks since an apartment fire in Yellowknife claimed the homes of several dozens of families. Since then, there have been several fundraisers for the victims of the Rock Hill fire. But as Charlotte Mort Jacobs explains, not all of the victims feel as though they are receiving that support.
All Eugene Harris has left from his home is this video of it burning to the ground.
Did you guys get any money for rent?
No.
Nothing?
No.
You got nothing?
No, like we were told to apply for government subsidies.
Harris gives us a tour of his new home, filled with things donated by friends. He says he is fortunate to have this space for him and his daughter, but not all fire victims were as lucky.
This is where they tried to move these people into. Had bed bugs and stuff, and some of these people turned down the place. So my assumption is if you turned down the place, you had to find your own place.
He checks in on a Facebook group for the victims.
And there's still people that from our building you could see on that posting where they're asking for stuff. Like, why are they asking for like kids' clothes and stuff, like when there's all this money?
Yellowknifers raised $238,000 to help fire victims, but it's the YWCA that decides how it's spent. The YWCA assured APTN that the $238,000 raised is primarily going towards subsidizing market rent and ordering furniture. But Lyda Fuller, the executive director of the YWCA, says giving money to victims is a messy situation.
Have you heard a lot of requests for just straight money, or?
Actually, just one or two for straight cash, and we looked at that, but there are a couple of problems with it. First of all, if you are on income assistance, they'll claw it back, so it won't do you any good.
Brenda Kawana says she, along with dozens of other fire victims, have been told by the YWCA staff that they'll have to be escorted when shopping for goods using donation money.
And she said, Brenda, you're going to be getting more donations, but then we're going to have to take you shopping. I felt like crying. I felt so humiliated. I felt just like a victim all over. My answer to her was, I'm not a child. I don't need you to take me shopping.
We asked the YWCA why fire victims are being escorted while they shop. Lyda Fuller says they are figuring things out.
Are there gift cards we can buy? Are there vouchers we can do? So I think the housing staff are trying to figure that out. How can we do that so that it's paid for? Because we don't particularly want to be breathing down people's necks as they go and try and replace things.
Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
The legalization of cannabis has left many Indigenous communities with more questions than answers. So the Tsuut'ina Nation near Calgary hosted the very first National Indigenous Cannabis and Hemp Conference, bringing in leaders from across the country to learn about social, economic, and health benefits. Tamara Pimentel was there.
There's a lot to learn in the cannabis industry, and these people from across the country are taking notes so they can bring the information back to their communities.
The whole stigmatism around cannabis is slowly starting to dissipate from chief and council level. Really, that I think it was the first step, is to gather the information and bring it back to the community, and then see where we can go from there.
Jen Shaw from the Chapleau Ojibwe First Nation is touring the Boaz cultivation facility in Calgary. It's part of the first National Indigenous Cannabis and Hemp Conference hosted by the Tsuut'ina Nation. It's an event to keep First Nations informed as to how legalization will impact them, by hearing from Indigenous experts from medical, legal, and business sides. Shaw says she thinks her community needs cannabis for medical purposes.
CBD is going to be such a huge thing for a lot of our members, with instances of diabetes, arthritis. I think mental health is going to be a very, very big thing. We have so many of our youth right now, so many adults, all of the residential school effects, there's people that are suffering right now.
And a lot of communities are suffering economically as well. Brady Plant is from the Wanapitei First Nation. He says there are 2 dispensaries nearby that his reserve doesn't benefit from.
The numbers that they make in sales there is absolutely ridiculous. Right now, none of that goes to the community. The potential for the community is it could literally change everything. It could support our whole economy.
Plant and Shaw say the conference is an eye-opener as to what is possible for First Nations when it comes to cannabis, and having a facility like Boaz on reserve.
Obviously, it's an expensive facility, but on a smaller scale, it's possible for us to do it.
Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
Stollery Children's Hospital in Edmonton held an open house to bring attention to their Indigenous health program. The Awasasik program was designed to help families from northern Alberta who have to send their kids south to have better care for their children. The program started in 2016 and is able to help families with children who have serious health concerns. The hospital has social workers available and hold workshops to inform parents on what to expect during and after treatment of their children.
We have discharge plan coordinator who works with the nurses in the northern communities to develop a discharge plan for the child. We have social workers that provide resources for the family so they're successful while they're staying in hospital. And we've partnered with Ronald McDonald House to provide housing for families that are coming from the north, because sometimes our children can stay here from 3 months to a year.
It is estimated that more than 96,000 people are fluent in Cree across Turtle Island. It is one of the most frequently spoken Aboriginal languages today, but access to the language is not always common for young people. As Brittany Hobson shows us, one Cree student and elder are hoping to change this.
Oh, aha.
Kinama.
Oh. For
the past year, this is what a typical Friday looks like for Cameron Adams and Margaret Osborne. The 19-year-old has been learning to speak Swampy Cree with the help of Osborne, who's an elder at the University of Winnipeg. Now the two are creating a Cree language app.
I enrolled in the Cree language class here at the University of Winnipeg and became literate in Swampy Cree, so now I can read and write it. And with that, that grew into my passion for my language app.
After speaking with Osborne and doing some of his own research, Adams felt there was a need for a resource available at people's fingertips.
You don't need to worry about if you can't see a Cree speaker every day, that you can just go on your phone and say, how do you say, I am hungry? Nino tegatan, how do you say, I'm going outside?
The app is in the preliminary stages of development. His plans include options broken down by categories, syllabic versions of words and phrases, as well as an audio component.
We have all these words, we have all these things. We need to have a resource that goes to all these things so that people can talk about hockey and then go talking about the land, go talking about on the water.
Osborne will be the voice of the app.
How are you doing? My name is, and Mary is my name. What is your name?
The process has helped her reconnect with her language.
Our languages are like more spiritually led, and the culture is there with it. That's what culture is the language. Lets you know who you are, where you come from.
After a childhood head injury in the 60s, Osborne forgot much of her first language. For the past 20 years, she's been working at regaining that knowledge, and it's something she's passed on to her daughter.
She said it's in your blood. Elders will tell you it's in your blood. Your culture is in you. It's just starting to live. That's why you're remembering.
Adams hopes to release the app in 2019. It will include thousands of words and phrases from various Cree dialects. He hopes to add more with the help of other Cree translators.
Our language is always evolving, and that's what I want this app to do.
Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
There's an otter on the loose in a Vancouver park, and it's devouring 50-year-old goldfish. That story and more after the break. Here's a look at the rest of Saturday's weather forecast, picking back up in northern Alberta. -8 and snow for Grand Prairie and Peace River. -5 and snow in Medicine Hat. -4 with flurries for Red Deer. +8 and rain for Campbell River, Tofino, and Vancouver. -9 in Fort Nelson. 0 with flurries for Smithers. In the Yukon, -19 in Old Crow. -5 with snow for Whitehorse. -16 in Wrigley, -17 for Norman Wells, 13 below in Fort Simpson, 24 below in Sax Harbor, -20 for Fort McPherson, -32 for Baker Lake, -30 for Cambridge Bay, 29 below in Repulse Bay, -25 for Resolute. Welcome back. So what do some Mohawk kids from Akwesasne, water and coffee have in common? Here's APTN's Annette Francis with the answer.
You might want to get the smells.
Birch bark coffee isn't a hard sell to many adults. In fact, entrepreneur Mark Marcellet Nawagobble's new brand has attracted a lot of attention.
And I've gone from local in the Ottawa area to international, and the coffee has gone to Jamaica, Switzerland, Hawaii, and right across the States.
These blends don't just taste good, they could make a difference in First Nation communities. Nawagobble started the endeavor 8 months ago in hopes of ending all First Nation water advisories. For every 50 bags of coffee sold, a portion of proceeds goes towards a water purification system.
As I work my way, as the coffee company gains ground and builds up its foundation, the hopes are to actually go into each community and install all the units at once in every community across Ontario, then Canada, for free.
That's why he's here today, to share a cup of coffee and explain his ideas to the kids at the Akwesasne Mohawk School on Cornwall Island. They're keen to help, so they're taking on the very first Birch Bark Coffee School fundraiser. According to Principal Denise Jackson, they've got plenty of experience in fundraising efforts.
Our local campaign includes collecting food for our food bank here at school, and our global campaign last year was helping people in Ecuador buy goats for sustainability. So I think this is also an important issue for our students here to learn about some of the issues that First Nation communities are facing, and it's a great way for us to partner with our fundraising campaigns as well.
Grade 7 teacher Mindy McLeod says campaigns like this not only helps communities, it brings money back to their school and helps educate kids.
It helps them be more aware of the global aspect of it, of the environmental aspect, instead of being dazzled by the candy. It's helpful in that way. Our students were excited at the idea of helping others. They wanted to know the science behind how does this purifier even work.
The Students' Coffee campaign will run for 2 weeks, and according to Nawagobble, he's already been approached by another school to get involved. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Akwesasne.
Vancouver has a new celebrity, and if you want to see him, then you ought to head downtown to the Dr. Sun Yat-sen Chinese Gardens to try and catch a glimpse. It all started when employees noticed a dead koi fish on some rocks surrounding the pond. A little later, this river otter was spotted in the pond eating a fish. It's still a mystery how he got into the gardens. The nearest water source is a kilometer away. He may have slipped through this gate, which is now blocked off. So far, he's eaten 6 of the 14 adult koi fish. The last report, the otter is still on the loose.
Adult koi fish, she was over 50 years old. Her name's Madonna, and we're hoping that she's doing okay. Parks Board came in to the public park side. They set up a trap. They laid a sort of a carpet material for the otter to sort of dry off when it comes onto land. I believe they also added fish oil and raw chicken in the hopes of luring the otter in.
That's your APTN National News for this Friday. For more, including a story on a Winnipeg City Councillor whose claims of indigeneity are being questioned, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. An all-new episode of APTN Investigates is just minutes away. I'm Dennis Ward. Have a great weekend.